Well, hello everyone, Vapian here again with another Nicquid review. This time revisiting a vendor I've talked about before, eJuice.com. I've got some additional flavors to review and some news to tell you about, which I think you'll find very interesting with respect to the natural extracted tobacco flavors from eJuice. Now, the samples that I've got here were a mix of things that I purchased and some samples that were sent in with those orders, and also a couple of samples sent specifically for review, which will be at the end of this particular video. All of the natural extracted tobacco flavors from eJuice are 50/50 PG/VG blends, available at a minimum 6 milligrams of nicotine, and all of the samples that I'm reviewing were 18 milligrams. Being 50/50 blends, the vapor production is very good. At 18 milligrams, I find the throat hit to be more than satisfying. Just to give you a sample of the vapor. Good stuff. Plenty of vapor. Like the way it feels. Thumbs up on that. Preliminary note. In the past, I complained about the bottles. I didn't like the 30 ml bottles. They're kind of nifty. They got a flat top with a flip top lid, little off-center hole. They were hard to drip with. I never could tell if the drips were going into the atomizer or not. My last order, I got these standard Boston style bottles with a standard dripper tip. I don't know if they did this just for me, but regardless, I appreciate their listening and making the dripping experience easier. Let's get on to the flavors, and then we'll talk about the news. The new flavors that I'm talking about include Vita Bella. Now, Vita Bella means beautiful life, and this is a really good flavor actually. Like most of the natural tobacco flavors from eJuice, if I vape it too cool, I get this irritating sensation in the nose. It's not real pleasant. Once I bring up the power, the voltage, use a low resistance atomizer, get that vapor nice and warm, the tobacco wakes up and this thing really comes to life. Vita Bella is slightly sweet, but not overpoweringly so. It's got a good mouth-filling flavor to it. What is really the main flavor is sort of this creamy tobacco vanilla flavor. And underneath that, I detect something. It's either like a light brown sugar or maybe like graham. Not quite like graham cracker, but sort of organic, sort of sweet. Just a really good flavor. And when I get the inhale and the exhale just right, something else peeks out. It's either like a tobacco leaf or a dark tea flavor. It's not there all the time, but it comes out from time to time and just really keeps things interesting. Vita Bella definitely would fall into the category of an all-day vape for me. In fact, I did spend a couple of days vaping nothing but this and really enjoyed it. Will it be a go-to vape for me? It's definitely going to be in my stable. I don't know that I will vape it all the time, but there are definitely going to be days when I'm just going to load up with Vita Bella and go. So, very good, comforting kind of vape. I really enjoyed that one. A couple of flavors to talk to for the straight tobacco lovers out there. Organic number 2 is a very straightforward, mild tobacco flavor. It's not harsh, it doesn't have a lot of bite, it's not really sweet, it's just tobacco. And natural tobacco leaf kind of flavor. Reminds me of these all-natural tobacco cigarettes that I smoked probably 20 years ago that could be put out and relit without tasting nasty. Just got this nice, consistent tobacco character. Organic number 2 is not real strong, but if you're looking for a mild tobacco flavor that doesn't have a lot of extra foo-foo flavoring to it, it's definitely worth considering. Now, if you like the idea of that, but you really want something a little stronger, U.S.A. Pipe Blend is one that you will want to try. Again, straightforward tobacco flavor. Personally, it reminds me a bit more of a mild cigar than it does of a pipe. But it's still a good, straightforward tobacco flavor. Slightly darker, slightly stronger, a little more oomph to it than Organic number 2. Personally, Organic number 2 and U.S.A. Pipe Blend probably won't be go-to flavors for me because I've begun to favor things that are a little more complex, vapes that make me have to think a little bit about what they actually are. I've come to enjoy that. But when you're looking for straight tobacco flavor without all that extra stuff, Organic number 2, U.S.A. Pipe Blends are definitely things you will want to keep on your short list. Peach Sweet Tobacco and Apple Cured Tobacco are a couple that I tried, and I'm going to talk about them about the same because I had about the same experience with both of them. When I first got it and vaped them, They were both very sweet, very heavy in the fruit flavoring, not very strong in the tobacco flavoring. So I set them aside, and 2 or 3 weeks later I managed to get back to them. Now personally, I hate having to steep flavors. I like the Nicquids to be vapable when I get them and know that that's what I'm going to get here on out. So I dislike the fact that they had to sit a while to change up. But once they did, the sweetness toned down quite a bit, the peach flavor and the apple flavors toned down a little bit, and the tobacco flavors for both came up some. Now, I believe I am sensing that the tobacco flavor in each of these is a little bit different, but not oddly so. And overall, once they balanced out, I found them to be satisfying vapes, but not necessarily ones that were strong enough in character to really keep me interested for any extended period of time. I could go maybe half a day with these myself. Personally, I will be using what I have left of these as sort of like palate cleansers between different flavors. I think they'll be very good for that. I can see these being good transitional vapes for new vapors that got in and said, I'm going to stay away from tobacco flavors altogether, but find themselves missing something in their strong fruit flavors or dessert flavors or coffee flavors that they've come to favor. Peach sweet tobacco, apple cured tobacco might be a good way to transition from those non-tobacco flavors into tobacco flavors, because you get some of the sweet, you get some fruit flavoring, you get some of the tobacco. It's a good mix. Like I say, it's just not quite strong enough to make it an all-day consistent vape for me. Here's where the news comes in. One of the things I complained about in previous reviews is that the good eJuice natural tobacco flavors tended to kill cartomizers quickly. At most, I would get maybe half a day or 3/4 of a day out of a cartomizer before it developed this ashy taste. And I spoke with the folks at Good eJuice about it, and they communicated with me. They sent far more information than they had any obligation to. And shortly after my initial contact with them, they sent some samples that had some improved filtering, which helped a bit. I might get to a full day before that ashy taste would develop, but really anything more than that and performance would drop off, vapor production would go down. It was almost like the cartomizers were just getting clogged with these suspended solids that were a result of the tobacco extraction process. So few weeks go by and I get some more information from the folks, and they sent me a couple of samples using a new extraction process. And I don't know all the details behind it. I think it involves some different tobaccos and maybe some other changes in the process. But they sent me these two and said, try these for use in cartomizers. So I took them at their word. I used them exclusively in cartomizers. I used the Blue Max Fusion Smokeless Image Volt KR808 cartomizers. I used Bogue standard resistance cartomizers. I used a variety of low resistance cartomizers and tanks. And I'm happy to say that this new process is wonderful. I was able to get, on average, 3 to 5 days of vaping in cartomizers with these samples. So I'm excited. Finally, hopefully my favorite one, which is Patriot, will get transitioned over to this new process and be usable in cartomizers and tanks. This is going to take place probably sometime around the end of December 2011 or sometime in January 2012 from what I'm told. So after that, all of the flavors in the natural extracted tobacco line from goodejuice.com should be using this cartomizer friendly recipe, and at that point I will be able to recommend all of their flavors in cartomizers, which I think is a great thing. I mean, I drip with atomizers when I need to. It's not my favorite method. I like to be able to fill up a cartomizer or a tank and go. I haven't been able to do that with the Good eJuice flavors up until these latest 2 samples that they sent. Let me talk about those real quick. One of the ones they sent in this new recipe was Vita Bella, and I'm glad they did that because I could compare that to the original recipe. What I found was that the flavor was almost exactly the same. There was a little something different about the tobacco underneath, but overall in a blind test I would be hard pressed to tell you which one was the new recipe and which one was the old recipe for Vita Bella. In my mind, this speaks very well for what's going to happen with the rest of the flavors down the line. If you've got something that you really like from Good eJuice right now that won't work well in a cartomizer for you, this new recipe should taste almost exactly the same, and you'll be able to enjoy it in your cartomizers and tanks, which is a great thing. The other flavor that they sent using this new recipe was GJ4. This is their take on a natural RY4. Now, personally, I would not have ordered this simply because my experience with RY4s in the past has not been very good. They've tended to taste fake or heavily favored the caramel or the tobacco one way or the other, and I just really haven't enjoyed anything I've tried up to now. Admittedly, I haven't tried all of the 60 some odd variations that are out there, but I tried enough to feel that I gave it a fair shot. So I wasn't expecting a lot from GJ4. What I will say is that GJ4 has changed my mind about what an RY4 can be. The natural tobacco flavor underneath is on par with any of Good eJuice's flavors. The caramel that they have found is about the most realistic caramel flavoring that I have tasted personally to date. So when you mix those two together, it was mixed a little bit on the sweet side, either kind of favoring the caramel or maybe the tobacco base was a little bit sweeter. So it was on the sweet side of a good tobacco caramel flavor, but even so, it just tasted real. And that's something I cannot say about any of the RY4s that I personally have tried before now. So, like I say, it changed my mind. I'm definitely going to be getting some GJ4. I'm definitely going to be looking into possibly some other RY4s that are out there now that I've seen that it's possible to make one that tastes really good. If you are an RY4 enthusiast and you have not tried GJ4, I definitely recommend that you give it a shot. If you've had a bad experience with other RY4s that may just wear off of them, but you still are interested in the idea of a caramely tobacco vanilla blend, give GJ4 a chance. I think it might turn your experience around. And again, in this new recipe, I got 3 to 5 days of cartomizer use out of it, so it'll be portable. It tasted great. GJ4 I definitely have to give a thumbs up to. Wrapping it all up as far as the flavors go, Vita Bella, definitely all day vapable. I will probably mix it up with some other stuff from time to time, but it's a good comfort vape. Rich, creamy tobacco flavor overall with a mildly sweet, either brown sugar or graham flavor underneath that, occasionally with a leafy tea-like flavor that comes through. Vita Bella is a good vape. Straightforward tobacco lovers, probably going to like either Organic No. 2 if you favor milder tobaccos, or U.S.A. Pipe Blend if you favor them a little stronger, and in either case really don't like having a bunch of extra flavors to deal with in your Nicquids. The peach sweet tobacco and the apple cured tobacco, once they had a chance to steep, which I personally hate having to do, they balanced out quite a bit. Good realistic peach, realistic apple flavor, slightly different characteristics to the tobacco underneath each. Personally, I found they didn't have the complexity or the strength of flavor that I was really looking for, but I think they'd be a good palate cleanser vape between other things, and a good transitional vape for someone who has been favoring really strong flavors of one sort or another and is looking to possibly go back towards tobaccos. I think the peach sweet tobacco and apple cured tobacco might be good choices for you there. As far as the new recipes go, definitely look forward to these being more widely available across the natural tobacco flavor line from Good eJuice. The Vita Bella, substantially unchanged from the original recipe. The GJ4, wow, thank you for sending me that sample. I'm glad that I can finally look at an RY4 type flavor without cringing at the thought. GJ4 is very good. Definitely recommend you give that one a try. Overall, I have to give Good eJuice a very good thumbs up, a shout out, whatever you want to call it. I'm very impressed with the fact that they have been as responsive as they have been. I mean, it takes time to develop changes to a process like this. Even so, they've pursued it. They've really owned their product. They have taken steps to improve its usefulness, to make sure that you'll be able to use this in cartomizers and tanks down the line. And it's obvious that they value their customers' input. So thanks for listening, guys. Thank you all for watching this review. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to seeing you here again on YouTube later. Take care.